Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jessica with From the Heart Ministries coming to you for our weekly message. And so, our message today is going to be about my thoughts about being pro life versus anti abortion, and the fact that I think we need to know that there is indeed a difference. And so, again, we know the recent overturning of Roe versus Wade and the implications that will be felt across the country in regards to that. And so everybody's been in a debate, especially those who identify as Christian, have been in heated debates about that being repealed or rolled back and what that means. And so, people who have expressed that, their their dislike of that being rolled back, have been labeled as baby killers, and you're not pro-life, and people have argued that I'm pro-life, I'm pro-choice, and this whole thing has come about. And so I just wanted to share my personal opinion. Again, my opinion, you can take it or leave it however, but I want to look at it from a couple of instances. One, from the fact that I reside in the state of Mississippi, born and raised in the state of Mississippi. And so what I think about pro-life and all those who are, again, on this thing of I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life. So that means no abortions. Okay, that's fine. What I would cause us to pay attention to is that in the state of Mississippi, over half the counties in the state are what we consider maternity deserts, which means, or have maybe not a desert, but maybe the mothers have low access to maternal care. So what that looks like is that in the county that the mother resides in, she does not either have an OBGYN that she can go to for her appointments, or even a hospital to deliver her baby in. And so I reside in Marshall County, Mississippi, which is a maternal desert. There is not a hospital in Marshall County in which a woman can give birth to a child. The neighboring county, Benton County, is a maternity desert. Now, I can get to Union County in about 25 minutes. I can get to Lafayette County, and I can get to DeSoto County within a reasonable amount of time. However, mothers who are in the Delta of Mississippi can't get to a hospital to give birth within 25 minutes. Some of them, it may take hours. Well, what does that look like? That looks like if there is an emergency or something happens, that mother is not only in danger, but that child's in danger. And so for myself, with my first child, with my son, I began to hemorrhage at work, did not know what was going on, began to hemorrhage at work, got to the hospital, and they were like, okay, something's not right. You should not be hemorrhaging like this. You're not dilated. And so I was in preeclampsia is what I was experiencing. And so the medicine they were giving me to try to get my blood pressure down was actually affecting Lamonte. It was slowing his heart rate down. And they said, we've got to do an emergency C-section. Luckily, I was able to get to the hospital within 25 minutes. My doctor was right behind. His clinic was literally right down the street, or right behind the hospital rather. And so all this went very fast for me. But every mother in Mississippi doesn't have access to that. So my thought is, as a mother, when we say that we're pro-life, and so later on I would go on to write an email to a senator in the state of Mississippi who had been very vocal about the issues in other states, especially as it pertained to the state of Georgia. And I reminded him that he represents Mississippi, and if he's pro-life, as he says, then why in the county that even he represents or that he grew up in is a maternity desert. So when we say that we're pro-life, life doesn't end at birth. And I think we've got that backwards. We think we're, the fetus that's when life begins at conception. And then as soon as they get here, we're done with the child. No, that's not where life ends. Life actually is just beginning. It has to continue. And so we've got to have places where mothers can give birth, where they can get access to health care, where they can get access to hospitals. Well, what does that take? That takes funds. And every year when a budget comes around, as hard as it is to get a lot of things done, teachers are just now getting some money. We know that there has to be money in a budget to get things done, but I also know that funds are not being allocated towards that. And so what I also know is that minority women are at a much higher disadvantage when it comes to the infant mortality rate and access to health care and all these different things. So pro-life looks like Everybody coming to the table saying, what can we do to address this? We've got the abortion numbers. We got all that. But now we've got some staggering numbers as it pertains to being in the year 2022 and women still dying giving childbirth. Y'all, this is not the 50s and the 40s. This is 2022. So if we're pro-life, then we need to be about that. I also feel like when we say that we're pro-life, that we need to know that the word tells us that Jesus said, I came that they might have life and have life more abundantly. So we know that we have families who are living below the poverty line. We know that there are families who are trying their best to survive off of minimum wage. And we know that there are businesses and corporations who are making billions off of these people. But when we mention getting an equal pay raise or leveling the playing field, paying field, when we talk about women being paid pennies on the dollars as compared to their male counterparts, when they do the work, when they're as educated, when they're as experienced, y'all, all this rolls into pro-life. And so we can't simply look at abortion clinics and say, oh, once we get rid of all of them, all of our problems are over with. And so we've also got to be reminded that when we say that we're pro-life, it can't be that I'm just pro-black life. I've got to, because again, all lives matter, right? And so when we talk about being pro-life as it pertains to children, we shouldn't be advocating for children to be put in cages. And so there are so many things that affect children of all shades and all nationalities. However, when we say that we're pro-life, we've got to stick with all that entails. And so we know that there are instances where mothers are dealing with children with disabilities, and how even in the state of Mississippi, how Medicaid and all these different expansions that would have been great for people, how that was not carried out by our legislature, by our governor. And so again, all these things that we keep talking about, we're pro-life, we're not pro-life, we're anti-abortion. And so we need to know today that there is a difference. So if we're pro-life, then we're pro-life. If we're anti-abortion, we're anti-abortion. And then where my thoughts go towards the abortion is that, again, we're advocating and we're saying that these are innocent lives being taken. Well, every time I turn on the news, there's an innocent life being taken. And so again, I'm not here to make you think one way or the other. However, what I'm saying is that we have to know that there are different situations for everybody. And so again, like I mentioned last week, we're saying, no, we're so anti-abortion and babies are being killed and we've got to take a stand and we've got to do this. Okay, that's fine. Well, then where do you stand on the other issues? Where do you stand on the issues when children are in food deserts and don't have food to eat? Where are you as it pertains to children not having access to health care? And so again, it's not where we get to pick and choose the portions of pro-life that we like and the portions that make us feel so holy and so Christian and so helpful. We've got to do a lot more work. We've got to make sure that when children are put into foster care, that maybe the foster care system needs an overhaul. We know of instances where people have adopted children and they have killed these children. So we can't be pro-life with a broken system. And so again, these are conversations that we should be having way past abortion versus not allowing abortion. There's so much more. And so again, it's just like the word of God, we have picked and chosen certain scriptures that we want to apply and we want to go with it and run with it, but we haven't untangled everything else that passage means or the background or any of that. And so today I'm just saying that if you're pro-life, then that looks a lot different than just saying shut down all the abortion clinics. And so what I know is that we're so quick to talk about things we have no idea. We're so quick to say a woman should never, or a man should never, or however. But what we have to know is that until you're in that situation, you don't know how you will respond. And so we need to offer grace again to all those who are experiencing whatever trouble or trauma they may be going through. And we need to be accepting of that. And so I just pray that this message helps somebody, that we're just more aware and mindful of the things that we talk about. And the stances that we take, that we need to look at it from all sides and not just our side, because we're not always right. So again, I pray this message helps somebody, and we will see you back on next Wednesday for prayer. See you back on Wednesday for prayer.